All right, you're still watching Ways. National Technology Day on January 6th recognizes how technology changes the world and looks to the future of technology. Each year, from the wheel of smartphones, the day honors technological achievements that impact our daily lives. Now, imagine the world without technology. It's unimaginable right now. So in our daily lives, we can't take a step without coming into contact with a form of it. So yet the world is abuzz with technology. I can't imagine a world without technology. I'm sorry. Uti, can you? I can't.
I don't think, I mean, the thought of not even having your phone, even as much as we talk about trying to, take a social media break or, even just, I mean, I have learned my phone is always on silent. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because I then find that I watch my phone a lot closer because I obviously don't want to miss things, but I've never been, that's my own form of rebellion. So I feel like if it's not buzzing, if I can't hear it, then I'm not a slave to it. But the truth is, I keep checking it because I don't want to miss messages. I don't want to miss phone calls. So in retrospect, it might be worse actually, but I've gotten used to it. But the life without technology, now, it wouldn't make sense. It's become part of our everyday lives.
I was going to say that, remember the times where you would go and queue on, what's it called, to go and call your people abroad?
Oh, trust me, Nightel.
It was hell.
You like hours and hours, and then you'd be there and be like, hello, can you hear me? Hello.
And the line now cuts.
So I mean, we've come a long way.
My mother cannot do without technology because the mother can call for Africa. So now it's so easy because now if she has any issues, she will call you on video call. She's sure that you are fine because she's actually those kind of people that are always checking up on you. So I can just imagine, maybe that's why BP and all those things, it has maybe reduced because now you're at peace knowing that you can talk to the person, there's accessibility and all of that. I suppose when before you have to probably send letters. I remember how I used to write letters to my boyfriend.
I miss writing letters actually. But
I used to write letters to my boyfriend, to my grandfather.
Yeah. But like back in the day, boys had lyrics because they had to write.
Oh my
These days,
social
media has killed everything.
That's the part I miss about no technology. You write some kind of sweet letter, you could think about that letter.
You can feel it, you can smell it, you can touch it.
So
like I can tell people, I'm not an ebooks person. I still like to read books. I love reading books. I like to read. Copy. The smell, the texture, everything adds to that experience of the story. So for me, it is. But I think technology goes way beyond. Well, not even think. Obviously, technology goes way beyond our phones and communication. In the medical sphere, saving lives, all sorts of technologies coming online every day that's making life easier for us. I mean, we take it for granted now. I mean, 1999, do you remember that show, Space 1999, if you were an 80s baby? I mean, if you watch it now, it looks like tinfoil. You watch all these cartoons that we watch. I love cartoons. So I like to watch my 80s cartoons. But when I see it now, it looks so very, oh my God, and then they're making all these new versions of them and remakes, and you're thinking, oh wow, this looks more like it. So technology is like leaps and bounds, and I'm actually just excited for the future to see what more is coming because when we think about at one point virtual reality was such a huge thing. Now there's augmented reality.
PlayStation launched I think VR2 or something. So where the players, of course, you go into the space.
Of course, you measure yourself.
Okay, problem.
Absolutely. So I mean, there's all sorts, and then if you start to even now take it to the negative side, you're talking about deep fakes, technology, and I mean, it's exciting and it's scary all at the same time. So
absolutely.
Let's see where the next 20 years is going to, 20 years is even far. Let's see where the next 5 years is going to take
us to 5, 7 years even far. Let's hear what you found in the news.
All right, so mine is an old school kind of story because it's a very old school product. So my headline says, Nigerian manufacturers condemn tax imposition on soft drinks. So this is the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is kicking back against President Buhari's administration and the introduction of tax on soft drinks. Now, this is not a new strategy for governments. So what our government is looking to do is impose a tax of 10 naira per litre of every carbonated and sweetened non-alcoholic drink. So of course, alcoholic drinks already carry a tax. But this is basically 10 naira per litre. And the government is saying that they're doing this to discourage excessive consumption of sugar. And of course, we know that sugar leads to things like type 2 diabetes and all sorts of inflammatory diseases. Which is a good thing, right? So we want to say that the heart is in a good place. But on the flip side, we're looking at this story looking from the economic impact, and here the manufacturers are talking about how this is going to contract and lead to losses of 40% drop of industry revenues in the next 5 years and a 4.3% contraction in output. So it's a sort of lose-lose, well, how would I put it, lose-lose situation, because when you think about these drinks, they push a lot of the informal sector. So anything that affects the sector is going to impact quite a lot of people. But on the other side, the health effects are long-term. Yeah, so they're long-term effects, right? Nobody can disagree that sugar is bad for you. So these effects they have long-term effects. But most countries who have done this, I'll speak to the UK in particular, they have a robust NHS system. So they're doing it to make sure that it eases the burden on the NHS. So here the government is saying we're going to raise the taxes to healthcare and security. You know, it's nice to say these things. We want to increase government, revenue from customs and all these, government-owned agencies. Look,
where are you channeling that income to?
We need to make sure that the money goes to the right places. That's where I'm going to wrap up with, because the truth is, quite a lot of money can be generated from this. If it's just the Owambe loan, forget the one you buy in your house.
Are you telling me?
So if it's just the Owambe loan, there's a lot of money that can be generated from this, but it's then making sure that this is channeled in the right way to the right things.
But what's the impact on the consumer's pocket, though?
So 10 naira extra per litre. So if you think about it, for a 1.5 litre bottle, that's like a 15 naira extra.
So I'm saying that purchasing it, you have to pay higher now.
Yes, of course. The taxes, of course, it will filter down to the end user. The whole idea is to dissuade the end user from buying. So that's what it's going to mean.
Okay, so let me quickly take the story. So when the government, the president rather, in his interview, very interesting interview yesterday, was asked about poor economic performance, Buhari says we should all return to the farmland. It says he dismissed the administration's woeful economic indicators in an interview that aired. Of course, everybody watched that interview on Channels Television, and he said that when you look at So Sheon Akimbolo is actually asked the question. He says, when you look over in 2015, our debt stock at that time was about 12 trillion. Now it's about 32 trillion. Of course, the president, as usual, debunked that and was asking him where he got his figures from. He says inflation rate was about 9%. It is now hitting about 15% unemployment rate. And unemployment rate was about 9.2%, now hitting about 32%. The exchange rate was about 197 to a dollar, now over 400 to a dollar. So now people would look back and say, before you took over, some of these indicators were fair, and now the figures are not friendly at all. Of course, Mr. Buhari responding by disputing, as I already said, the data and reeled out by the journalists, and he failed to engage them. He didn't address that. So later he now said, well, I am not sure how correct your calculations are, the president said, but all I know is that we have to allow people have access to the farm. When you say you have to allow people have access to the farm, what is the biggest threat to food security in Nigeria? What's the biggest threat to people going back into farming? What's the biggest threat? Because when you came into power, you said you were going to diversify the economy. We were very hopeful, and we saw that okay, a lot of people went back to say, okay, let us start to invest, let's look into the farming. But so many people have been displaced from their farmland as a result of insecurity. So you cannot just say that we should go back to the farmland. How do we go back to the farmland when we are battling with Boko Haram and all of these people, and bandits and herdsmen and all of that?
So I like the way the interview was structured. I like the background they gave us in the intro. Firstly, that these questions were sent
ahead of time.
And secondly, they said that he grants very few interviews. And I say this all the time. We should cut our president some slack. He doesn't, he doesn't speak. He's not the most articulate of presidents. But the thing that I saw him do was sidestep every question. And I guess it's a strategy, right? The idea that you're asked a question, and in the face of metrics that don't lie, you have to try to put a positive spin on it. So I can't remember the question that was asked very early on in the interview, and then he came back to the three things, and he was focusing on the economy and
rail.
roads and rail. And then he starts talking about rail. And of course, that's where he's done some
Biggest
work.
strength.
He's also done some work on the roads. So
roads,
he's trying to point you to the
direction.
Move a little bit, just scooch over a little bit. I did some work. I mean, you know, if nobody's going to clap for you, you're going to clap for yourself. Exactly. So for me, the interview, every time our president speaks, people get upset. He didn't say this. I'm like, what were you expecting to hear? The man says he has 2.5% of arable land is all that is being farmed. Everybody go and farm. Now, whatever your reasons for not farm, it's not his business. Just go and farm. Where you're sitting there on the spot, we'll dig this stage up and start farming. Please, let's move.
All right. We'll take a break. When we return from the break, hopefully we'll be able to join Tones to discuss a call for justice for Sylvester. Stay with us. We'll be right back.